Baseball has seen its share of heated rivalries, dramatic moments, and unforgettable nights that live forever in the memory of everyone who witnessed them. But what took place inside that stadium during the 10th inning of the Dodgers and Diamondbacks game was something that went far beyond anything the sport has seen in recent memory. It was not a rivalry moment. It was not competitive aggression. What the Arizona Diamondbacks players did to Shohei Ohtani in that 10th inning was a calculated, deliberate, and vicious assault on the most valuable and beloved player in all of baseball. And when it happened, the Dodgers did not stand still. They did not look away. They responded with everything they had, and the result was one of the most explosive and dramatic fights this sport has witnessed in an entire generation. What exactly did the Diamondbacks players do to Ohtani in that 10th inning? How badly was Ohtani affected by what happened? And when the Dodgers stormed onto that field, what happened next that left everyone in that stadium completely unable to believe what they were seeing with their own eyes? The game had already been an extraordinarily intense battle from the very first pitch. Both teams came into this matchup with everything on the line, knowing that every single game in this stretch of the season carried enormous weight for their postseason positioning. The Dodgers had fought hard through 9 grueling innings, with Ohtani once again carrying the offensive load on his shoulders in a way that reminded everyone watching exactly why he is in a category completely by himself in modern baseball. His presence in the lineup changed everything. Every Diamondbacks pitcher who faced him knew that one mistake, one pitch left in the wrong location, would end up leaving the ballpark. By the time the game reached the 10th inning still tied, the tension inside that stadium had reached a level that was almost unbearable. Fans on both sides were standing. Players on both benches were locked in with an intensity that you could feel even through a television screen. The kind of atmosphere that only the most important and pressure-filled baseball games are capable of producing. And that is precisely when the Arizona Diamondbacks made a decision that changed everything about the night. Sources within the Dodgers organization confirmed that there had already been a noticeable and troubling pattern developing throughout the game. Diamondbacks pitchers had been pitching Ohtani aggressively inside, closer to his body than normal, with a frequency that the Dodgers coaching staff had been tracking and discussing in the dugout for several innings. Roberts had already spoken quietly with his coaches about the situation. Veterans in the Dodgers lineup had noticed it too. Freddie Freeman later admitted that by the 8th inning he was already telling teammates to stay alert because something felt very wrong about the way Arizona was approaching Ohtani. Nobody wanted to believe that a professional baseball team would make the deliberate choice to physically target Shohei Ohtani. The consequences of such a decision, both on the field and from the league office, are enormous. And yet the evidence was becoming harder and harder to ignore with every passing inning. When Ohtani walked to the plate in the 10th inning, the entire stadium held its breath. Dodgers players lined the top of the dugout steps. Roberts stood at the front of the dugout with his arms folded and his eyes fixed on the mound. Everyone could feel that this at-bat was going to matter more than any other moment of the night. Will Ohtani deliver the decisive blow that puts the Dodgers ahead? Will the Diamondbacks pitchers finally challenge him the way they should? Or will this 10th inning produce something that nobody in that stadium is prepared for? The first pitch of the at-bat came screaming directly at Ohtani's body with a velocity and an angle that made it immediately and unmistakably clear to everyone watching that this was no accident. The ball struck him with a force that echoed through the stadium and sent the crowd into an immediate and furious uproar. Ohtani absorbed the blow and stood for a moment without moving, the pain registering on his face in a way that those who have watched him for years said they had never seen before. He is a man who plays through discomfort without ever showing it. The fact that this time he could not hide it said everything about the severity of what just happened. The Dodgers' dugout exploded instantly. Players surged to the top of the steps. Coaches rushed forward. Roberts stormed out of the dugout toward home plate with a fury that silenced even the loudest corners of the stadium. The home plate umpire immediately stepped in front of Roberts and issued a formal warning to both benches, his voice cutting through the noise with an authority that made clear he understood exactly how close this situation was to spinning completely out of control. Ohtani, showing the extraordinary composure that defines him even in his most difficult moments, took his base quietly. But those standing close to him in that moment said his jaw was tight and his eyes told a story of pain and anger that words could not fully capture. What happened next will be talked about for years. With the warning freshly issued and the entire stadium buzzing with nervous energy, the second Diamondbacks player involved in the incident came to the center of the action. Whether it was a prearranged decision or a spontaneous act of aggression born from the heat of the moment, nobody can say with absolute certainty. What can be said with complete certainty is what everyone in that stadium witnessed with their own eyes. The second assault on Ohtani came without warning and without hesitation. It was hard. It was deliberate. And it was the moment that broke everything open. Before the umpires could react, before the coaches could intervene, before anyone in that stadium could fully process what had just happened, the Dodgers bench emptied with a speed and a unified fury that was breathtaking to witness. Every single player in that dugout came onto the field at the same moment, moving together as one unit with a singular and unmistakable purpose. The Diamondbacks responded immediately, pouring out of their own dugout and rushing toward the wave of Dodgers players that was already crossing the field. What followed was a massive, chaotic, and emotionally charged confrontation that engulfed the entire playing surface and brought every person in that stadium to their feet simultaneously. Reporters present at the scene described the scene as one of absolute chaos for several minutes as players from both teams became tangled in confrontations across multiple areas of the field at the same time. Umpires rushed from every direction trying to separate players. Coaches threw themselves between groups of players trying to prevent the situation from escalating further. Security personnel rushed onto the field from the stadium entrances. Mookie Betts, who was one of the very first Dodgers players to reach the center of the confrontation, was seen having to be physically restrained by multiple teammates and coaches before he could be separated from the Diamondbacks players involved in the incident. Sources say that Betts, who is universally regarded as one of the most professional and controlled players in the sport, was in a state of absolute fury that nobody in the Dodgers organization had ever witnessed from him before. Freddie Freeman, speaking to reporters after order had finally been restored, did not mince a single word. He said that what the Diamondbacks did tonight was a disgrace to the game of baseball. He said that hitting Ohtani once was already unacceptable. Hitting him a second time after a warning had been issued was something that no team, no player, and no organization should ever be allowed to do without facing the most serious possible consequences. Freeman said the entire Dodgers team was united in their anger and united in their support for Ohtani. Dave Roberts faced reporters in a press conference room that was more tense and more electric than anything the Dodgers media relations staff could remember hosting all season. Roberts sat down, looked directly at the cameras, and spoke with a controlled fury that was more powerful precisely because of how carefully he was keeping it contained. He said that the league needed to respond to what happened tonight with the full weight of its authority. He said that what occurred in that 10th inning was not a baseball play gone wrong. It was not a pitcher losing control of a pitch under pressure. It was a targeted and deliberate act against a player who represents everything that is right about this sport. Roberts said he would be communicating directly with the commissioner's office and that he expected immediate and decisive action. When asked about Ohtani's condition, Roberts said that his superstar was being evaluated thoroughly by the medical team and that the organization was not going to rush any conclusions about his availability. He said that Ohtani's health and well-being came before everything else, before games, before standings, and before any other consideration on earth. Sources close to Ohtani revealed that even in the immediate aftermath of one of the most violent and disturbing incidents of his entire career, the Japanese superstar's focus was already returning to baseball. A source said that Ohtani sat in the training room after the incident and told the medical staff that he wanted to know his status for the next game as soon as possible. He was not thinking about the pain. He was not thinking about what had been done to him. He was thinking about getting back on the field and finishing what this team started. That is who Shohei Ohtani is. That is why the entire Dodgers organization, from the front office to the last player on the roster, will always stand beside him without hesitation. The Diamondbacks made a choice tonight. And the consequences of that choice are only just beginning. Thank you for watching. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Subscribe to our channel for more interesting and up-to-date information.